from First Baptist Church.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Before I pray, might I just thank you for the opportunity for the Ministers Community Partnership to be represented at your meetings and to come and offer our prayers for our community. We appreciate that greatly. Would you join me in prayer? Eternal, almighty, majestic God, you inspire awe in us. We consider the creation, the work of your fingers, and we wonder why you're concerned with us. And yet we know you are, for you have made us just a little lower than the angels. And you rely upon us as stewards of this world and of community to care for your creation and to care for one another. We come this evening to invoke your blessings upon our elected officials as they are the primary stewards of the care of this community. We thank you for this day of life and the strength that we've had to enjoy it. We're equally grateful for the kindness you've shown us today in every way. We're grateful for current growth in our community, signs of emerging vitality and potential that will lift the hopes of all. And I pray now for our commissioners, that they will conduct their business with the utmost integrity, with profound wisdom, and with an eye toward fairness. Make them brave to abandon their own glory in exchange for yours, and their honor to the responsibility to honor our community, to serve mercifully, to execute justice for all. Give them the daring to attempt great things. Give them the courage to face critics and what appears to be impossible. And in all things, give them humility and a sense of their civic responsibility. Make their hearts pure, their hands clean, and their minds sharp. We offer our prayers as people of faith in the names by which we know you and love you, counting on the fact that you hear and will answer. Amen.
Next, we will have the introduction of our new Cooperative Extension Director.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we'd like to ask Waikia Macon, actually Dr. Macon, to come forward. And NC State has gone through an extensive recruitment process to identify and select a new Vance County Cooperative Extension Director. And Dr. Macon has risen to the top and has been selected by NC State and actually began her post August 1st. And Dr. Macon, would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, a few. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you again. I think I stood before you about 2 months ago as a 4-H agent, so I'm excited to stand before you as the County Extension Director. Each of you have a blue folder in front of you that is from me. I would love if you took a look at it for a second. The red front is just a snippet of my presentation. I won't give you the 50 slides that I had in there, but just to let you know, I am a product of Vance County, born and raised. I went to Clark Street Elementary, so that's a picture of me at the bottom, which is now Boys and Girls Club, and I graduated from Southern Vance in 2005. But what's most important is I am a bit of a data nerd, so a lot of my presentation and a lot of my work is situated in data. And so some of the things that I highlighted on those next few pages may be of interest to you. I did note that about 20% of Vance County is considered to be food insecure, which means that we lack consistent access to enough food to live an active and healthy lifestyle. Cooperative Extension focuses on food, agriculture, and youth. And so that is one of the areas that I do hope that we continue to address with the support of the county. Another thing that I highlighted is 19.8% of our young adults between the ages of 16 and 24 in 2019 were not in school and not working. We do a lot of work with teens in cooperative extension. I would like to continue to see that happen, but that is not something, but this particular statistic is not something that we can address alone. So I would love to talk to you all about other things that we can do in the county to address that. If you continue, 46% of our residents are low income. And on that back page, I noted that we don't have a lot of access to mental health providers compared to the state. And so some of our people are hungry, some of our people are in poverty, but they don't have the resources that are needed to address some of their mental health issues. Furthermore, because we focus on agriculture and cooperative extension, I did highlight the census of agriculture from 2017. And one thing that I wanted to note is that 16 out of 369 of our producers are under the age of 35, which means that a lot of our young people aren't interested in agriculture anymore. They don't want to grow. And so we have to figure out ways to get them interested again. So the blue areas are things that we're doing in cooperative extension right now. I'll give you some time to look at that at a later date. There are pictures of my lovely crew and some flyers to highlight some of the things that we're doing, like some of the farming and agriculture workshops that we offer, some of the food and nutrition workshops that we offer. And our parenting program is actually offering some of the mental health awareness programs right now, and we plan to expand on that. But some of the things that I would like to see would be the items in orange. If you continue, their programs mentioned, and then there's a picture of our farmers market. Cooperative Extension also oversees the farmers market, and our master gardeners do a great job of keeping that beautified throughout the year. That triangle area is a really cool garden. If you haven't checked it out, I would recommend checking it out. We have vendors there on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 8 to 1 p.m. So please, please go. And if you have things to sell, we ask that you sign up as a vendor because we could always use more vendors there. But on that left side, those rectangle, that's my imagination that I would love to see supported by the county. As a way to address some of the things that I've already mentioned. In a lot of areas, they're doing community gardens or allotment gardens. We actually just received some funding from NC State to start a community or a club garden at the Boys and Girls Club. So that's like our pilot attempt, but we hope to expand that to possibly offer more gardens at schools, more gardens at churches, and eventually have a community garden coordinator that will support some of those items. But allotment gardens, if you see the next page, allotment gardens are basically like raised bed gardens that anyone in the community can use. So you would pay $50 for a year and you would be provided with soil, tools, information. Since the master gardeners are there, they could provide people with information on how to grow their items and so on. So that is one thing that I will be pitching pretty soon. Right now, we just have a bunch of kudzu there. So tearing it back and putting something that's useful there would be great. But looking further in the future, we need some more vehicles. We do a lot of outreach in cooperative extension at a lot of schools. Our food and nutrition educator is at a lot of different places. And our agriculture people go out to a lot of farms. We only have one vehicle, a 7-passenger van right now. So I'll be pitching that pretty soon, in addition to just receiving additional funds to support either teen interns or additional program coordinators to help with some of the things that I mentioned. But I also like to pull my weight. So that last page is telling you some of the revenue that I brought in as a 4-H agent to support my own budget and what I plan to do as a extension director, but I will need some additional help. So if those things sound really fun to you, I'm also looking for people from our advisory leadership council. So I would love to have a couple of you in that council. We had our first meeting recently on July 18th. We will meet quarterly. The application is actually in that as well. But if you just want to see some of the updated things that we're doing, please, please, please have a look at those documents. And that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions for me at the moment? All right, I thank you for your time.
We want to welcome you and we look forward to working with you in the near future.
Awesome.
And we hope that we can do great things here in Vance County.
Great, thank you.
Really excited to have you.
Excited to be here. Yeah,
You're there and you're back to the community and very productive. So thank you.
thank
so
you.
much for being here.
Congratulations.
No, thank you very much.
Next, we have recognition of leadership Vance participants.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have Sandra Wilkerson with the local Chamber of Commerce to come make this recognition with their participants.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I always love to come up here and brag on these leaders. For the 2023 group from Leadership Vance, we had 18 participants. Not all of them could be here tonight, but back in March, we had our county government day. And thank you, Chairman Feemster, for coming in and speaking to the group that day. The county manager at the time, Mr. McMillan, spent the entire day with the group. And so we love to say that so that the next county manager can live up to those goals as well. I would be remiss not to mention that Mr. Kelly participated in the first Leadership Vance class, which was about 32 years ago. And so he was one that started with the process and was on the planning committee.
Donald Cobbs was the extension agent, I think. And, what's the lady out on Raleigh, out near you? What is it, 158 bypass, she's the extension agent? Oh,
Yes, I know exactly.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yep, though I wasn't around back then. I was around, but not in the chamber. But, and also I brought to you tonight, I think Kelly passed those out, our new Envision Vance magazines. That's our annual publication that the Dispatch and the Chamber puts together. It's got some great articles in there. If you notice on the front of that, that is actually the Leadership Vance class from 2022. And Dr. Macon is on that. So you see what great things happen when you participate in Leadership Vance. Kelly, I'd like to thank you for planning the county day that we had. Kelly's always a great support person that we reach out to, but we love this program. We encourage you to go through the program with us. It will start again in February of next year. It's about a 7-month time frame. What I'd like is to just go around and let them tell you their name and tell you where they work so that you can relate to where some of the businesses that they are from. Lee, you start with you.
And Lee Owen, I work for the city of Henderson Public Works Department. Kevin Wade, Vance County Farm Bureau Insurance Agent.
Steve Alexander, and I'm the Director of Membership at the Henderson Family YMCA. Allison Pigram, Carts Transportation.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenya Gomez with the Carter Regional Council of Government.
Bria Barrow, Vance County Schools.
Donald Johnson, Assistant Principal at Aycock Elementary. Sam Seifert with Mariah Fairham Health.
Ammon Seifert with Vance Charter School.
Krista Height with Henderson Vance County Economic Development.
Alicia Hawk, I'm the Director of Development at Henderson Collegiate.
Okay, thank you. And you will see these people later because they are true leaders. This is a great group. I've enjoyed working with them. Their graduation date is scheduled for the 22nd of August, and they all will be graduating. So we're proud of that group. But we look forward to spending more time with you guys next year with another group. I guess I'll still be around to lead those. So thank you very much for having us.
We want to thank you and Ms. Wilkerson, we want to thank you for all the hard work you've done on behalf of Vance County, the city of Henderson, and the other businesses here to educate people who are interested in just knowing about Vance County. Because the more you know, the more we can grow. So we just want to thank you as the board, for all the hard work you put in, the time and the efforts. I've attended some of the ribbon cutting, seen some of the members there, and I know a lot went into it. So I just want to let you know that we do appreciate you.
Thank you. We do all we can to spread positivity. I'm going to just give away a little secret. I guess I can. This group and every group comes up with a class project. I'm very proud of this group that Saturday they got together and they had a yard sale for the Abria's Chase Foundation. We visited that nonprofit and they were so touched by what Ayanna and June Lewis were doing that they wanted to participate in that. They're also making a video because they wanted to share with Vance County and surrounding areas the positivity that we have in Henderson and Vance County. So that will be shown for the first time at our graduation, but then we're going to blast it out there.
All right. Thank you all so much. Congratulations. Now it's time for our public comments. There was a sign-up sheet. There was only one person to sign up for this evening. Was there anyone else who desired to sign up and didn't have an opportunity? You check with Ms. Grissom. So now the first person and only person on the list is David Webb, who is a representative from the Office of our state representative, Don Davis's office. Congressman's office.
Thank you, Chairwoman, to the board, to the county officials, the administration, to the citizens of Vance County. It is an honor to be here with you this evening. I will be as brief as I possibly can. It was very emphasized that I had 5 minutes, but I want to provide a brief 6-month update in 5 minutes and discuss a few of the things that our office provides the citizens of Vance County as well as the administration and the county officials. Congressman Don Davis represents the 1st congressional district, which includes 19 counties, Vance County being one of those counties. And I am the regional director for those areas. So I am your direct representative. If there's any way that we can be of service, please don't hesitate to reach out. A few of the things that our office provides that I think is really helpful for the community to know is the first is casework. So we work as a federal liaison between the federal government and the constituents. Would it be okay if I pull this out so I can face people as well? Okay. So we work as a federal liaison between the constituents as well as the federal agencies that you're working with. So if you have a case or a situation that has came up, you can reach out to us and we can be of service to try to get you an answer. Obviously, we can't change the outcome of those cases, but they are required to give us an answer and give us an update of where things stand. It can take as long as 60 to 90 days, and some things take as short as 1 to 2 weeks. So please make sure that you reach out if we can be of assistance. Additionally, we do a lot of constituent outreach in the community. So if you have an event, if the county is hosting something, if there's anything that we can show up and be present to serve the constituents, please let us know. We will show up, whether it is a staff person or whether it is Congressman Don Davis himself, to make sure that we are being representative of the county and making sure that you have a direct link to what goes on in Washington. In addition, we have educational opportunities for our youth. So there is a congressional art competition so the youth can participate and submit their artwork. We additionally have an app challenge where they can create their own digital app, as well as any recommendations or nominations to military academies. So we do all of that through our office. One of the most fun things we do is we can do letters of support. We can do letters of congratulations. We can do greetings. We can do condolence letters. So if there is anything that is going on in the community, if somebody needs to be thanked for what they did, if somebody retires from their position at the county, or if somebody retires from an institution in the community, we can certainly present the letter ourselves or give you the letter to present from the office of Congressman Don Davis. We do flag requests. So if anybody would like a flag that will be flown over the Capitol, a letter will then be tailored specifically to that individual or that institution or that nonprofit, whatever that looks like, specifically for your request. So if you let our office know, we can do that as well. And then for the county, it's really great to know we do grant assistance. So if you all are applying for grants, we can do letters of support on behalf of the congressman's office, but we also do that for nonprofits as well. So if there's anybody applying for grants, please let us know so we can get you a letter of support. Congressman Don Davis particularly is really involved in the community. Every opportunity he gets, he is right here in the district, making sure that he is being representative for the folks. So we have held town halls. We've had telephone town halls with over 8,200 people. We do listening sessions specifically on issues that are really important to the district and the constituents. For example, we had agricultural listening sessions that happened right next door. And then we've had general listening sessions where folks can come and just ask questions of the congressman directly. And we also do a lot of text and calls, which some people may have gotten a few of those. If there's any ways that you have feedback, those are great avenues. In terms of legislative updates, so people often care a lot about, Congressman Don Davis is a vice ranking member of both the House Agriculture Committee, which we know is critical to Eastern North Carolina and Vance County, as well as a vice ranking member on the House Armed Services Committee. So if there are issues that you have pertaining to those issues, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to be helpful. Congressman Don Davis is one of the most bipartisan members in Congress, as he has co-sponsored over 150 pieces of legislation, 100 of which were bipartisan, introduced 8 pieces of legislation himself, and is ranked as 85% bipartisan on all bills that he is passing. In terms of appropriations, that's what a lot of folks care about, where the money is going. I want to be clear and candid. Congress has set the stage for a chaotic September with the House and the Senate on a collision course over appropriations and the risk of partial government shutdown already being assessed. Only one out of the 12 annual appropriation bills have been passed thus far. With members of Congress being out of session until mid-September, it would be very unlikely to not likely at all that they'd be able to pass a full budget on time by September 30th, which likely means that there will be a consideration of a continuing resolution, which means that the current funding levels would not be approved. But can I have 60 seconds to wrap it up?
Yeah, go
Do you
ahead.
mind? Okay, thank you. Obviously, we can't guarantee that bills would pass, but there is a community project funding directly for this county and for Henderson as well. So we are really prayerful that those things will pass. Full circle. If there are stories, and I just want to say this really briefly, if there are stories or situations that need to be highlighted in DC, we take those seriously, right? There are things that happen in our community that need to be told outside of the community so we can bring awareness right here to our community so that we are highlighting what is going on in Eastern North Carolina. And the congressman will do that. He will go to the floor and do a speech, get a congressional record and seal it to the end of time for situations that have happened. We've done that for a 102-year-old veteran that was shot down out of the air twice and is still here to tell that story and sit with the congressman. He told that on the floor. We also tell the stories of folks that we've gotten $37,000 to surviving sons of veterans. So please don't hesitate to reach out if there's things that need to be told. Thank you so much for your time and the extended time. And I yield back.
We want to thank you. It's always a pleasure to find out what's going on with our congressional representative in Washington, DC, because that impacts the county and it impacts every citizen here. And we just want to thank you for the job that you all are doing. And also one of the things that I've noticed is that you all have made yourself available. So if there's anybody who wants to reach out to you, I remember at the town hall you gave out cards. So that if anyone wanted to reach out to you with any kind of concerns or anything, you all pretty much introduce yourself and let us know that you are there for us. And I really appreciate it. You're welcome.
Madam Chair, may I ask him a question? May I ask him a question here? About the congressman's arts program that you mentioned? Sorry, you mentioned that you have an arts program the congressman does?
What program? Oh yeah, we have an art competition.
Have you coordinated, talked to our public school superintendent about that?
Yes, sir.
And-
So
Because we have a very robust program in our public schools district.
okay.
And I want to know, is the congressman aware of that? And is he working with our public schools on that?
I'm actually glad you told me about that, so I'll make sure I ask about it when
That's
we do
all.
it. But we do, so it's something that happens toward the end of the school year. So the app competition is happening right now. We'll be reaching out the end of August, once they're back in school. And then the art competition starts around March. And then we will be reaching out again to the public school system as well, and to the elected officials. Is there any other questions?
Anyone else want to ask me anything? Okay, all right, thank you. and
Thank you, Chairwoman.
For your time. Next, we'll hear from Alan Simmons.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Alan Simmons. My residence is 1802 Oxford Road here in Henderson, North Carolina. And I'm here to briefly speak with you. You will be getting a letter from the chamber, but I'm here in person to invite you to the Alight Funeral and Cremation Service ribbon cutting on August the 23rd at 1:00 p.m. The ribbon cutting will begin at 1:00 p.m., but the ceremony will go throughout 6:00 p.m. so that people can come out and have an opportunity to view our new establishment that we have here in Henderson. We're seeking to help people here in our community in many ways. So if there's any way that we can be of, that you all know of any way that we can be of assistance to help, please don't hesitate to give us a call and let us know. We can only help if we know. There's nothing we can do if we don't know, but we are here to lend a hand to the public. But our funeral services is now available for people here in this community and beyond. And we're currently more in Raleigh and Durham right now with funeral services right now, but hopefully we get a chance to enlighten people in Henderson because we're here to educate. There are a lot of things that people don't know, and it's unfortunate. I'm not trying to be the one to bring the bad news, but it's unfortunate. A lot of people are oftentimes ripped off during that time of death because they're going through hard times. And it shouldn't take place, but it do take place. But we're here to help families to understand the process and understand the process even after the funeral, because a lot of people lose property, land, all these things because they don't know. And when you're not educated and you don't know, you can't help it, but it oftentimes happens to people here in our community and beyond. But any way that we can be of assistance to you all, please don't hesitate. I'm gonna leave my business card, and also I will leave a letter to the chamber members. But again, if there's anything that we can do to be of assistance to Vance County, please don't hesitate. Please let us know. If anybody have any questions, I'll be open to answer those.
Did you give a location of your move?
I apologize. We are located at 549 South William Street. 549 South William Street. It's right beside Brothers Food Mart and across the track from the old Faulkner Coal. And I apologize, I can't stay because I have to be in revival at 7 o'clock. So, but thank you all for your time. And again, if there's any way we can do, anything we can do to help, please let us know. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
That would be the close of our public comments. Next on our agenda is Frankie Nobles from the Employee Engagement Team.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So the committee or our team had come up with a new idea. Instead of me coming up here every month and telling you all about the people that has been nominated, we felt like it would be good if some of our members of our team were able to come up here and tell about their peers or even their directors. So this month, we're going to have Natoya Woodard with Social Services come up and tell all about our recipient this month.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natoya Woodard, and I'm employed with the Vance County Department of Social Services. I am honored to present this award to Ms. Danita De Vega. She leads with integrity and excellence, which personifies her motto for DSS: we are an agency of excellence. She created the agency newsletter to recognize staff achievements. She has compassion for employees and cares about our safety. We have security cameras installed around our building, as well as a security officer who makes us feel safe. She organized or moved from Ruin Creek Road to North Beckford Drive smoothly transitioned us into our new facility. I have been with the Vance County Department of Social Services for 5 years now, and under her leadership, the agency has grown in all areas, making us more competitive with other DSS in and around the surrounding area. Everyone, please give a round of applause to our director, Ms. Danita De Vega, who is our Employee of the Month. Thank you. This award.
Am I doing one or just? Okay. Good, thank you.
Next on our agenda, we'll hear from our tax administrator, Portia Brooks.
Good evening, everyone. I have one untimely application tonight. That's Miss Margie Taylor Fogg of 4150 Glebe Road. And she's applying for the elderly exemption. And she failed to apply by June 1st. She said she didn't know about it until she came in our office and we explained the process to her. And once she filled out the applications, if she would have filled it out before June 1st, she would have met the qualification.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the appeal by Ms. Fogg at 4150 Glebe Road.
The motion has been made that we accept the application for Ms. Fogg. It's been properly seconded. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? By unanimous vote, it is approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next on the agenda is Ryan Vincent Evaluations.
Thank you. So I get to talk about everybody's favorite subject, property tax and reappraisal. See if I can get this to work. All right. So my name is Ryan Vincent with Vincent Valuations. We are currently assisting Vance County with their 2024 reappraisal. So we prepared a presentation here that I'm going to present to you tonight. In regards to the reappraisal, some of the changes we're seeing and the process of property tax reappraisal in North Carolina. So reappraisal is the process in which we go through and we revalue all of the property and bring it to current market value as of a particular day, which in this case is January 1st, 2024. So real property includes land, buildings, and anything permanently affixed to that land. State law requires that we must do a reappraisal at least once every 8 years. Vance County's last reappraisal was in 2016, so we are at our statutory deadline or our 8-year cycle. And what reappraisal does is it distributes the property tax burden evenly based on value, based on market value. Property tax is called an ad valorem tax, which means according to value. So market value is the most probable price that a willing buyer and a willing seller would pay in the marketplace. When we do a reappraisal, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the actions of buyers and sellers. What are people paying for properties? It's important to remember that in the tax department, we do not create market value. We're simply taking a snapshot of market value as of a particular day. So again, the reappraisal takes effect January 1st, 2024. We began visiting every property in the county in 2021. We plan to bring forth what's called a schedule of values, which is our rules and standards for how we did the reappraisal. We plan to bring that to the board either at a September meeting or an October meeting. Plan to mail notices to all Vance County property owners in early 2024. And the tax bills that will be affected from these new market values will go out next summer. So the 4 basic steps to a reappraisal, data collection. So we visited all the properties within the county. Then we bring that information in, we key it into the system, and we start analyzing sales, looking at what's going on in the market, what changes are we seeing in different areas. And from there, we develop our schedule of values, which is rates and tables that mimic the actions of the buyers and sellers in the marketplace. From there, we review all of the values, mail notices, then we work through the appeal process. So again, our values come from the actions of buyers and sellers. A few things that are difficult for us sometimes is we don't go inside anybody's house unless we're requested to. So we might not know if there's a finished basement or not. We might not know if in a 2-story house there's cathedral ceilings versus 2 full stories of living area. Those are some of the challenges we face. So we do it this way because we are responsible in the case of Vance County for valuing about 27,000 properties as of one particular day. We use the same practices and procedures that most counties do across the entire country. And it's a little bit different than a single property appraisal because we have an appeal process. And again, this is mass appraisal. We're valuing a lot of properties at one time. So a couple ways we check things. The first major item we check is what's called a sales ratio. So this is simply taking the new assessed value divided by what the sale price of that property was. So state law tells us that we have to be as close to 100% as possible. So if a house sold for $200,000 and it was a valid market transaction, we try to be as close to $200,000 as possible. We also, we don't consider things like foreclosure sales, short sales. If you sell a property not listed on the market, if you sell it to a relative or a family member, most of the time we don't consider those arm's length or market transactions. So what we're going to cover here is a few areas throughout the county, different size houses, different ages of houses, and we want to represent some of the changes we're seeing. So a few things to remember. When you see these changes, we're looking at a previous value. That previous value was from 2016. So we're looking at almost 8 years of appreciation through one of the largest, what I'd consider largest market growths throughout the COVID time in recent history. So we have a few slides here. So this one was a house that was located in Henderson. It was built in 1973. The 2016 tax value, which is currently what this house is being taxed for, is $67,000. It sold in June for $170,000. And that's an increase of 153%. So that's what's represented in these slides. That's what we're seeing. So I'll go through some of these fairly quickly. Another house in Henderson, it was assessed for 114, just sold for 175. So that's an increase of 53%. And these last two are 22 sales. This one was built in 2004. It was assessed for 141, just sold for 260 in 2022. That's an increase of 83%. This one was built in 1991. It was assessed for 72. It sold in 2022 in April for 150,000. That's a 105% increase. This one was built in 1970, was assessed for 78, sold at the end of 2022 for 190. That's an increase of 141%. And we start coming to some more recent sales. This one was assessed for 165. It just sold in May for 320. That's an increase of 93%. This one was built in 1954. Sold in April for 180,000. That's a 191% increase. This one was assessed for 53, sold August of last year for 141. That was a 164% increase. This one was a little bit newer, built in 2009, was assessed for 112, sold for 160, and that's a 41% increase. This one was built in 1965. Sold previous value was 82,000 it was assessed for, sold for 195 in May of this year. That's a 135% increase. 1958 was assessed for 74, sold for 205. That's a 173% increase. A little bit larger house. This one was assessed for 237, just sold for 400,000. That's a 72% increase. This one was built in 1997, was assessed for 190, sold for 375. That's an increase of 96%. So we wanted to tie in some third-party measures here. So this next graph you're about to see is a Zillow home index, and this shows the change from 2016 to 2023. So as you can see, there is a mid-tier, a bottom tier, and a top tier for Henderson. And the yellow line here is actually the bottom tier. So you can see the bottom tier is peaking at a 250% increase from 2016. But the average and the mid-tier is somewhere between 50 and 100% increase over that period of time. Next, we tied in Freddie Mac's measure of market changes. So again, this is another third-party data set. This is also measuring changes from 2016 to 2023. And as you can see here, North Carolina is the line in blue. The United States is the line in orange. So this is a little less local than the previous one was and the previous slides. But as you can see here, North Carolina in general has seen an increase of roughly 90 to 100%. You can see there was a little bit of a dip in 2022 and it sort of leveled off and continued to slowly trend up on this particular graph. And the last one is the Federal Housing Finance Agency. So this again represents from 2016 to the beginning of 2023. And as you can see here, there was a little bit of a level off in 2022. And again, it's starting to slowly trend back up, not nearly as fast as it did during COVID time, but it's still on its way up. So to sort of recap here and bring this to a close, I want to talk about the difference between appraised value and tax rates. So within the tax office, we are responsible for the assessed value or the appraised value of a property based on market value. This board and the other elected boards within the county are responsible for the tax rate. And those two numbers together generate the tax bill. We don't know what the final tax bill will be. When we mail notices, we don't know what the bill will be because the rate is not set until after the appeal period. That's by statute within North Carolina. So property owners will get a letter in the mail in the beginning of next year, and we ask them to follow a 3-step process. So the first step is to review the information we have on file. Look at your bedroom and bathroom counts. Look at your square footage. Make sure everything looks correct. If that's correct and you still have questions about your value, we're working with a GIS company to put a map, an interactive map online with all of the valid sales for the last 2 years within Vance County. So folks can go online, look in their neighborhood, look in the county, and see what folks are paying for other similar properties. And if you still have questions or disagree with your value, we ask that you go ahead and file an appeal. When they file an appeal, we ask a couple things. That first, the appeal is based on value, not that it's based on the percent change from the previous reappraisal. The affordability of the expected taxes, we know that's an issue, and there is state programs to help folks with property taxes. And also the level of services provided is not a reason to file a property tax appeal. Some things we'd be looking for if someone chooses to file a property tax appeal is comparable sales. Those could come from the website the county's developing. They could come from real estate professionals. Maybe somebody recently had an appraisal done. They could share that with us. If it's a commercial property and it's valued based on the income the property produces, we would request an income and earnings statement. If there's anything wrong with the property that we might not know about, maybe there's foundation issues or termite issues or something like that, we'd ask for photos or documentation or quotes, repair quotes. So to recap the appeal process, if there's data errors, we can address those fairly quickly. If you know somebody that might benefit from one of the property tax relief programs, please have them contact the tax office. We'd be happy to walk them through if they qualify and if they do getting them into one of those property tax relief programs. And again, appeals should be based on value and not the percentage change or the expected tax bill.
Madam Chair, can we just interject on the property relief tax programs? Those are mainly geared toward elderly and disabled individuals primarily.
Yes, sir. So that's a good question. So there's the elderly and disabled program. There's also a veterans program. If you are 100% permanently disabled through the VA, there is a tax relief program for that also. Those income limits and qualifications are given to us through the state. The county has no leeway on that. They either qualify based on what the state tells us or they do not. Those programs are just administered through the tax office. So a few key dates for the reappraisal. The effective date of value is January 1st, 2024. Reappraisal notices will go out in early 2024. That should say, that's a typo, that should say 2024. We plan to begin appeal hearings sometime in April of 2024. And the deadline to submit a property tax appeal is still yet to be determined. The statutory deadline is when the Board of E&R adjourns. And the first tax bills impacted by the reappraisal will go out in the summer of 2024. So the appeal date is one thing we stress, but it's not set yet. But all appeals must be received by the time the board adjourns. Otherwise, they'll be considered untimely and they'll have to be heard the following year. So that's all I have. I'll open it up for any questions that anybody might have. I know it was a lot of information.
Madam Chair, can I ask him to follow up on something in terms of the percent in these overall you're going to see in these values going up in terms of appeals to the Board of E&R and you as the Board of County Commissioners sit as the Board of Equalization and Review. What type of experience would you project Vance County will see with appeals?
So what we tell counties to plan for from an appeals standpoint is 10, 10, 10. So 10% of your parcels appeal to the office level. So there's about 27,000 parcels. So that'd be about 2,700 parcels. Then we tell counties to plan for 10% of those appealing to the Board of E&R, which would be 270 roughly. And then we plan on 10% of those going to the State Property Tax Commission. Now, in the last 2021, 2022, and 2023 reappraisal cycles we've done throughout the state, the initial number has been less than 10%, but that secondary number to the Board of E&R has been a little bit more than 10%. And so that's something to consider going forward as the commissioners do sit as the Board of E&R. We will have probably days and days of appeal hearings where we'll have to sit here and folks get 5 minutes for their side, typically 5 minutes for our side, and then the board has 5 minutes to ask questions and deliberate and make a decision. We try to schedule them every 15 minutes.
So you as a board could appoint a separate Board of E&R if you so chose, or if you chose to spend the time hearing all the appeals. If you chose to appoint a separate board, it would remove you one step from that process. I mean, the decision would rest with the Board of E&R. That's just a consideration for you to think about.
Counties, in my experience in the counties we work in, the trend is getting away from the Board of Commissioners serving as the Board of E&R, just due to the time commitment that it takes, especially during reappraisal time. Most counties that we work in have appointed folks that serve in their place on the Board of E&R.
I have two questions for you. First question is, what percentage are you complete right now with the 27,000 properties? Are you 50% complete? Are you 20% complete? Or how far along are you?
So we've measured to date, we've measured and visited 100% of them. So we've done the field work on 100% of them. Now we're in the process of reviewing the sales and valuing them. And to date, we've valued roughly around 9,000 of the 27,000. Now, that being said, we don't share those values until after January 1st, because we don't know what's going to happen with the market. And so we're in the process of still reviewing those values right now.
Let me ask you the question that I'd like to ask that doesn't put you on the spot.
Sure, yeah.
In relationship to other counties, how do you see Vance County stacking up as far as property values?
What do you mean by that?
Well, they going up or going down?
We haven't seen values go down in.
How much have they gone up? Approximately.
we've seen counties where it depends on your cycle. So Vance County is on an 8-year cycle, right? Your last reappraisal was 2016. So you're looking at 8 years of growth. For example, we just helped Alamance with their 2023 reappraisal, but they were on a 6-year cycle. So they were seeing, and don't quote me on this, but they were seeing, I think, overall somewhere around an 80-ish% increase in their total base over the course of 6 years.
So to clarify, what you're saying is their basis went from whatever billion they had to 80% more.
Correct. That's correct.
So in essence, what you're saying is you're looking at an increase in our tax basis of probably somewhere 50 to 100%.
I'd probably say that's a safe number
I
to
give you a
plan
50.
on. Yeah, you gave me a wide berth, you might say, but I think that based on what we're seeing, I think that's a safe number. We've been doing a lot of reappraisals. We're helping Wake County right now with their 24. We helped Chatham, we helped Harnett, we're helping Vance. So we're working in these communities around Raleigh, and you're seeing extreme growth in these areas that are within driving distance because they're a lot less expensive to live than Raleigh. But folks can still commute there and do jobs down there and come work out here. So it depends on how you look at it. But that's what we're seeing. We've in the measure and list, we picked up 2.4 million square feet of heated area in the county that was never listed before. So that's living area that was never on the tax records. We picked up 2.4 million square feet of that in outbuildings. So that's sheds, garages, things like that. We picked up 17 million square feet. So part of what we're going to see in an increase is not just market increase, it's stuff that was there that was never being taxed prior to this. So when you see an increase, part of it's market, part of it's stuff that was never taxed before.
Let me ask this question. You made a statement, said that when you go into the resident, you can't go in unless it's requested.
Mhm.
So while your workers are at the residence, so if you see a 2-story house and you just said that, based on their tax rate, when they get their bill in January, are you basing their tax rate on an assumption that they have a completed upstairs or not completed upstairs? You're not going into the residence. So how are you going to base that?
So we're basing it on the best information that we have. So typically when we go to a house and we see an upper floor, if we see, just a few examples, if we see an air conditioner hanging out of a window, if we see curtains or blinds up there, if the curtains or blinds are open and we see finished drywall in the upper floor, those are things that we're looking at from the outside. That's also why there is an appeal process. That's also why we encourage the public to go online and make sure your information is correct. The public is the best auditor of our data. And if it's wrong, we want to make sure we fix it. And again, we go off of the best information that we have. If we were to knock on everybody's door and say, hey, we're from the tax office, we got to come in your house, I think everybody knows here how that would go over. Probably not very good. And there's other states that do that. I've worked in other states within the United States where I've been tasked with knocking on the door and going in people's houses. And so that's not our practice in North Carolina.
I have a question.
Sure.
Right before the pandemic, like for instance, the house that you showed us that went for like 82,000 and eventually sold for 195. Because of the increase in market value prices, the prices escalated way above the original appraised price. But according to market trends, are some of those prices now coming down?
Well, if you look at some of those graphs that I showed you, they've kind of leveled off, and we're starting to see them slowly tick up, but we're not seeing a red hot market like we had in 2021 and 2022, but those prices ran up and now they're sort of leveling off. We're not seeing necessarily a decline. We're seeing more stuff on the market. We're seeing it sit on the market longer, but we're not necessarily seeing a decline per se in sale prices right now. And again, that's why we don't share these final values until the end of the year, because I don't know what's going to happen in the last few months of this year. I don't know if interest rates are going to keep going up and it's going to really cool the market and slow it down, or if maybe interest rates are going to get cut and it'll heat the market back up before the end of the year. We try to look at the previous 2 years of sales, but we also try to look at the most current data and what's going on as close to January 1st as possible.
So a question, okay, so for instance, if you did an evaluation early on in your process, when the market was really, really high, and you know before January, the price on that particular style type house square footage has gone down,
Mhm.
are you gonna reevaluate, or are you gonna wait till January to really look at it again?
We're going to do a final run of everything right in December and January. And if we see that it's trended down, we'll make adjustments accordingly.
Okay, and a lot of people are very upset with the what the house now has been evaluated at. Say for instance, the person has the house that's $50,000,
Mhm.
and then you reappraised it, and now it's going at 150. They're saying, "Oh Lord, I don't know how I'm going to pay my taxes because now it's jumped over $100,000."
Mhm.
So can you explain that process so
Sure.
that person can have be more comfortable with knowing that that's not necessarily what
Yeah.
they're going to be paying on?
Yeah, so typically when you have a tax base that's here and you have a rate that equals a certain number to give the county or the taxing jurisdiction a certain amount of revenue to satisfy their budgetary needs. When one item of that equation goes up, typically the other goes down. So if your tax values, your taxable base goes up, typically the elected officials lower the tax rate to bring in a similar amount of money to satisfy the budgetary needs of that taxing jurisdiction, whether it's the county, the city, or the fire districts. So again, we're responsible for the assessed value. The elected officials and the fire districts are responsible for setting those tax rates. So some folks, property taxes may go up, some folks may stay the same, and some folks actually may see a tax decrease through a reappraisal. When we get to a final presentation, when we come after the first of the year, one of the things we'll share is what percentage of values went up, what percentage stayed within 10%, and what percentage of values actually saw a decrease. We don't have that information to share right now, but after the first of the year, we'll come with another presentation and share all that for the board.
Yeah, what he's referring to and what we've generally done in the past is we've tried to reach a number which was revenue neutral. So just say like right now, if a house appraised in 2016 for 100,000, that tax is roughly $890 per year. So if that same house comes back at 200,000, then those taxes are going to be about 400, and the tax rate would drop like 44, 45 cents to accommodate for that same amount of revenue. So your tax rate would grow. Now, what we saw in 2016 is certain parts of the county grow faster than others, and the market values increase quicker than other areas. And so there would be some adjustments, just in different markets with that.
Madam Chair, the statutes require us to provide you with the revenue neutral rate. So that doesn't mean it'll be revenue neutral to me as well as to you. It's for the county for us to collect the same amount of taxes that we collected the prior year. So you will have that revenue neutral rate in front of you during that process.
I had discussed it with our prior county manager. I just wanted the people to be aware of it because I don't want anyone to, just get real anxious about the fact that they think just because the property value went up, that automatically was going to bring their taxes up. But we can hear from our county manager.
Madam Chair, one point and one question. And I've been through 3 reevaluations with counties. And one question that when the appeals process always comes up, when the individual is calling in or writing in, when the question is asked, would you sell the property for the amount of money it's been appraised for? Everybody always says, absolutely. That at a minimum. But when it comes to setting the tax value, then that's just another equation. The question I wanted to ask Mr. Vincent is, my understanding in North Carolina, a good number of counties have chosen to go to a lesser than a 8-year cycle, i.e. a 4-year cycle. What are the advantages and disadvantages of doing that?
So a lot of the smaller counties have stuck with 8-year cycles. We are working right now in 2 counties out east that were on 8-year cycles that just chose one to go to a 6-year first, then a 4-year. The other one chose to go from an 8 to a 4. What that does is it limits what you might call sticker shock. So instead of seeing an 8-year increase on a piece of paper that gets sent to you, you're seeing an increase over the course of 4 years. Department of Revenue, I believe it was 2019, issued a set of, might call them suggestions, standards. They're not enforced by law, but they are reappraisal standards, they're called. They suggest counties do a 4-year reappraisal cycle. I've been asked before, is that more expensive on the county to do a reappraisal every 4 years instead of every 8? We have worked with counties to figure out a way to not have to do a measure and list every 8 years and spend all this money. We've worked with counties to figure out a way to make it more cost effective to do a 4-year reappraisal and have the cost be similar to that of an 8-year cycle, because we're doing a similar amount of work, but we're doing it more frequently. Therefore, we can provide some sort of a break on the cost to the county.
Madam Chair. Since you got into that, what's the cost for us to do it every 8 years?
Don't know what the total contract cost is.
Our finance director can tell us.
For the full evaluation, we changed it a couple of years ago, but it's right around 830,000.
What was that?
830,000.
Almost $1 million.
Keep in mind, you've discovered $2.4 million of
Yeah,
untaxed
so
square footage. I realize this is an 8-year period and
But
Yeah.
We did a full valuation this year, which
Yep.
means they get out and walk around every single house, which you're gonna have to help me remember what the original cost was, where they just.
Aren't we budgeting that? Aren't we budgeting something every year to make sure we move towards that and have been since that?
Yes.
The last thing I'll ask you is, aren't we in the top 5 counties in the state of North Carolina as far as tax rates? It's 95 counties cheaper than we are.
Well, why is that?
poverty.
Because of the low values of our property. Lower values compared to the markets.
If you're looking at economic development, being in the top 5 is not really good.
Well, one of the things I'll echo Mr. Manager's comments. We did pick up 2.4 million square feet of area that was never taxed before. Folks weren't paying any taxes on that area, and we picked up 17 million square feet of outbuildings. So if we ran that out from a value standpoint, it was a lot of stuff that wasn't getting taxed, and part of that cost of the reappraisal is going out and knocking on every door and making sure that everything is being properly taxed within the county.
You just cemented my point. This is a great time to look at making sure you bring the tax rate down.
I have a question about appeals.
Sure. Yep.
On your charts here, you talk about the fact that all appeals must be submitted before the Board of E&R adjourns.
Yep.
But on your charts, you don't tell us how long that board is open, when it starts and when it closes. You just say there'll be one that starts on some magical date and it'll adjourn on some magical date.
Yep.
And our citizens need to know how long this board is open. We'll get that word out to them to let them know that this is the time period in which they have to file an appeal.
So as of right now, we do not know when the board is going to adjourn. By statute, the board has to convene between the first Monday in April and the first Monday in May. And on a reappraisal year, the board has to be open for 30 days. So that all has to be published. We will know that by the time we mail the notices in the early part of the year, we'll know that. And property owners in most cases will have at least 30, if not 60+ days to file their appeal. That will all be clearly written in the notice, and those dates will be clearly written and explained in the notice that every property owner will get.
Who decides how long they're open? Because you just said they'll have 30 days and then you said 30 to 60 days.
You as
So
the,
who's gonna decide?
you as the Board of
how-
Commissioners,
Excuse me.
you
How
do.
long that Board of E&R is open?
So it depends when the notices get mailed. If the notices get mailed in March and the Board of E&R convenes the first week of May, let's say, then you have that time, right? So from March to May. If the notices get mailed in February and the board adjourns in May, you have from February to May. So we don't know yet when the notices are going to be mailed. We're shooting for February or March.
That's not my question. My question is, who decides how long that board is open?
We as the Board of Commissioners decide that.
That's what I wanted
Yeah,
to hear.
you as the board decide, but
We
you,
decide how long it's open.
yep, you are bound by certain statutes as to when you have to open and how long you have to be open for.
Well, the minimum time is 30 days, you said.
The minimum time is 30 days. Yep.
Can be longer than, can it be 90 days?
I don't know of a county that's ever gone beyond the 90-day period. And I don't know,
Beyond 90, that means it could be 90 days.
I don't know what the
Yeah, 90 or
statutes
we
say.
at
at
60?
this time.
We can receive all of the appeals, close the receipt of the appeals, but continue to meet and address all of the appeals that we have.
I'll use Alamance for an example because they were 2023. We're going to be hearing, their board's going to be hearing and processing appeals all the way, I think we estimated through October, through at least the end of October. But those are appeals that were filed timely before the board adjourned. And we're just working through the process and the board dates that the board is available to meet. And we're hearing them for a few months past the agenda date.
In the best case scenario, your highest number of appeals on the 3-level appeal process will be handled internally by staff. Then the second level to you as the Board of E&R would be a smaller number. And then the third level to the Property Tax Commission, as he outlined earlier. But again, if in the best case scenario, if we can handle the far majority of these internally on a staff level, they never need to rise up to level 2 or level 3.
In the past, well, this would be my third revow. Most of the appeals that went for a lengthy period of time were on commercial properties. And so most of the residential were resolved in the initial 60 days.
And from our standpoint, it depends what the property owners submit. If they give us ample data, sales, evidence for why their value is not what we have on there, then we can address those fairly quickly and efficiently. We do get a large number of appeals that are submitted with no evidence, no documentation, nothing to back them up. And therefore, what we do is typically we reach out to the owner, try to reach out to them at least twice, either by phone or email. And then we will move that appeal forward to the next step. We try to work it out at that level, but if we can't get any information, then we have to move it forward to the next step in the process.
Can I ask the question to help me understand? You said we picked up a lot of square footage with building outbuildings and stuff like that, that had never been on the books, How did it get by? Did you come to do the appraisal? How did that get by us?
I don't know the last time that Vance County did a full measure and list. I don't know the last time they visited every property in the county like we did. This is my first time working in Vance County, so I can't speak to the previous reappraisal 8 years ago or 16 years ago. All I can speak to is what we found and what we picked up in this reappraisal. But this number that we found is not uncommon in counties that have not visited their properties in a long time. I could show you evidence from other counties of things we picked up with very similar numbers.
Isn't part of that property, new properties too? New house?
No, when we ran this query, when we did this, we looked at our 2024 file versus our 2023 file, so total square footage in each tax year. And then we subtracted anything that had a 2021, 22, or 23 year built. So we took all the new construction out of that.
So
So
what is
this-
it, how much is the new construction?
I don't have that number. We could get it for you, but I don't have that number in front of me.
Okay, so in essence, you got two figures. You got the one about the places being built, and then you got the one about new construction.
Yeah,
Adds to your tax basis.
correct. Yep. Yep. And these numbers that I stated here do not include new construction. This is just stuff that we picked up that was never listed.
All right, does anyone else have any more questions? Wait, let's thank you,
All right, appreciate it.
for coming forward and presenting this information to us. I believe it's gonna be real helpful for the property owners here in Vance County. I had one question that I wanted to address to Portia. Okay, during the presentation, there was a brief discussion about assistance programs, and he mentioned some of those. Could you elaborate on it? You know, because that was one of the ones we did earlier. Somebody said they didn't know about it. So, you know, while we're here, could you just elaborate about it? And if someone listening, you know, on the internet or whatever, or listening to our website, they can basically hear what benefits are available for them to inquire about to maybe get assistance with their tax amounts.
Okay, we have the elderly and exemption, which is you have to be 65 as of January 1st. You have to live in the home and own the home, and your income, all income, will have to be less than 33,800, and that's including husband and wife. If you're married. We also, with the disabled, you have to get some kind of document from a doctor to say that you are disabled. The veteran, you have to get something from the VA that says you 100% disabled. And that's a 45,000 off your value. And then we have a homestead exemption that we don't have. I think it's only maybe one or two that apply for that, because that's something you have to pay back if something happened like death or you sell the home. And a lot of them don't want to do that because they will have to pay a percentage of the money back. But most of the time it's the elderly and disabled, and then it's a disabled veteran.
Okay, so what about commercially, like churches or nonprofits or anything? Is there any assistance for them?
Yeah, if the churches apply for the exemption and the property is in the church, it has to be in the church name, and they're using it for the church purposes like parking, a parsonage, and of course, the church. Mhm.
I know one year we had someone come and the pastor had passed away, and I think the people who the successors didn't know about it. And so we weren't able to assist them because they didn't fill out the application for a couple of years.
Right.
So, you know, I wanted to make sure that that was stated tonight, that churches, if you have a church and you want to claim that exemption, then you do need to contact the tax office to
Right.
find out
Right,
what's going to be necessary to get your church exempt.
right.
And some people don't even know that they could get the church exempt. One thing, if church don't notify you, then you don't know. Is that
No,
correct?
that's right.
And I think that's one of the problems. People say, well, I have a church up there on so-and-so corner and we didn't get the exemption, but a lot of times they didn't get the exemption because they never notified you.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to make that clear that that is a possibility. Now,
Correct.
as to nonprofits, how does that work?
With nonprofit, the same thing, they will have to bring in and show that they are a nonprofit. That's a little more involved in what they would bring in, because a lot of people think because if they are 501c3 or something like that, that they automatically get exemption. And that's not true. You still have to show proof and bring in information.
So anyone interested in trying to get any of those exemptions, they would contact you directly, or just someone from your office?
Contact our office and they'll give them to the person that handles that.
Okay.
Mhm.
The other thing is agricultural exemptions will not have to be recertified after this reappraisal, is that correct? They continue?
Yeah, that we still will have to do a compliant, they still have to do a compliance review because we have to do one every 8 years. So yes, and we do that on all the exemptions. Mhm.
Does anyone else have any input or questions? Okay, all right, thank you very much. and
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Mhm.
We now open the Water District Board.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, you have before you a staff report on for the Water District Board. Basically, unless you have a local water supply plan that was priorly submitted to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, and it has been reviewed, and they're now asking for you to adopt a resolution approving this plan for Vance County. There is in front of you a copy of the report. It was a 4-page. It was referenced in the agenda materials. It's basically a statistical report on everything about the water system itself. But attached, you have a resolution that is needing to be executed by the Water District Board.
Madam Chair, I just had one question on the report. The planning thing, it showed purchases of 0.325 million gallons in each year, 2022, 2030, and so forth. And then it showed our available supply as that same number. Is that number correct on the purchases?
Ms. Bigelow?
It's on, of the agenda package, page 31 and 130.
Actually, page 5 of the report under planning, you say,
Yes.
And under which subcategory again?
Purchases, it shows purchases of 2022 purchases as the same as our available water supply.
Yeah, so it's not showing any growth. I mean, it shows the actual year of 2022, but then the 10-year increments, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 is showing the exact same amount. So they've plugged a number and they're not showing any projected growth, I guess, in terms of purchases.
Well,
Of
they're
the,
showing us using our maximum available supply in 2022. I don't believe we're doing that.
yeah, I would have to get with, I'm not sure if the former manager had refilled this out or where it happened, but it was in 2022 when it was done. I can, if the board will allow us to check that number out, if you would pass the
I make a
resolution and
motion
we'll.
to approve subject to evaluation of that number.
Madam Chair, let me ask can I ask a question here? The first page of this report, it asks the question, whether the system have an active water conservation public education program? And the answer is no. My question is, why not? That's something we don't need.
I believe we do have one on the USDA website. We had to have one to get funding. So I believe,
L one, the answer is wrong here.
correct.
You're telling me.
Yes, sir.
And the same thing is true for the retrofit program for plumbing.
Yes, sir.
We have one of those too.
I believe so. I can double check on that one.
So
I
both
don't-
of these no answers are incorrect.
Correct.
That's what you're telling me.
We'll verify these.
Okay, does anyone else see any discrepancies or anything? Because the motion was made that we approve it subject to that one line item.
Subject to corrections, I'll
Okay.
amend it. Subject to corrections.
Okay. There is a motion now on the floor that we accept the report as is, subject to corrections. It's been made by Commissioner Dan Brummett, seconded by Commissioner Carolyn Faines. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposition? By unanimous vote, the ayes have it.
Next, you have the monthly operations report for the Water District Board, just for your information, no action is needed on that. So next on the agenda, number 6, you have committee reports and recommendations. The first one is on the Properties Committee.
Okay, prior to that, does
Sorry.
anyone else have anything that they want to contribute concerning the Water District Board? We now close the Water District Board. Now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Getting ahead of you. So number 6, committee reports and recommendations. First one is for the Properties Committee. They considered the Green Rural redevelopment lease, the GROW lease, and they met on July 17th. And basically, this is the lease at Eaton Johnson Middle School. And they're recommending that effective this past July 31st, that lease be terminated. The full recommendation is the committee unanimously recommended to the Board of Commissioners to terminate the lease between Vance County and the Rural Green Redevelopment Organization, again, effective July 31st, 2023.
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made by Commissioner Carolyn Fines, seconded by Commissioner Tommy Hester, that we terminate the lease with Green Rural Redevelopment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? By unanimous vote, ayes have it. That lease is now terminated.
The second item under the Properties Committee, they also discussed storage needs at the Sheriff's Office for evidence and vehicles. And a number of things were talked about, such as a possible space near or at DSS. Also, the committee asked for other options for indoor storage or current and future needs to bring back a recommendation back to the committee. That's just for information. No action is needed.
Okay.
The second item on that list of committee reports is your Planning and Environmental Committee. A number of things were discussed by that committee. Again, they met on July 17th. First item was a property owner along Brody Road where significant illegal dumping has occurred, has voluntarily agreed to put up fencing and cameras to prevent these activities. We have a request into the city of Henderson. This is near their pump station or
They're two separate areas. One is near the transfer of the pump station for the city. The other area is on Brody Road.
So I'm awaiting, I talked to the city manager last week. I made a request, I think, possibly last month on this. He was supposed to follow up with me. I'm awaiting a reply on that to see about the pump station part of it. The other thing they discussed as a committee was that GFL Environmental has agreed to waive all fees for any illegal dumping trash that has been collected by NCDOT, so that the disposal fees would be waived when they come into the transfer station. That is something that we worked on, and the Commissioner Brummett had spearheaded that to have that discussion happen. The next thing is the committee talked about the county's littering ordinance, or actually probably maybe more formally the solid waste ordinance. And the committee members have agreed the state statute should be used in prosecutions, and directed staff to convene a meeting with the sheriff and the DA to discuss enforcement of illegal dumping statutes. A method for further deterring illegal dumping on Brody Road. The committee agreed to recommend the board that the Brody convenience site be open on Sundays from 11 to 6, which I guess it currently is not. So we need a motion on that you would agree to allow that site to be open from 11 to 6 on Sundays.
I'll make that motion.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Tommy Hester that we adopt the recommendation of the Planning Environmental Committee. It's been seconded by Commissioner Leo Kelly. All those in any discussion?
Just one thing on that, there's another area of that where increasing or assessing a dump fee for household waste. that's
Yes,
$4.
I was going to handle that as a second item, but yeah.
Separate vote, motion. Okay, all right, fine.
Okay. All those in favor again?
Aye.
Any opposition? Now, it's now approved.
And just back up on the illegal dumping, my understanding is a few years back or a number of years back, there was a position within the sheriff's office that was designated to be like an investigator for illegal dumping. And I'm not sure if that position has been, I don't believe it's still in place. I don't believe anybody's doing that today. It may have been reclassified or repurposed, or it may have been done away in budget. I don't know, but county would really probably need to have that type of position going out investigating in order to bring citations before the DA's office, asking for enforcement actions or, court action on it. We do not have that right now, and I'm not sure if the sheriff has capabilities to dedicate that again.
I don't believe the board ever had any intent to eliminate that position. There may have been during some staffing shortages, it may have fallen away, but that position should still be in effect, based on the action taken several years ago.
Okay, well, I'll try to get with the sheriff and check on that.
The other thing is that we should have a compliance officer now jointly for the ETJ area.
You do. You have a environmental compliance officers that are approved for July 1, the July 1 budget. We'll be looking at getting that filled. And my understanding is that is jointly funded between the county and the city of Henderson. The county will pay for the position, but bill the city for their proportionate share of.
The city will actually administer that position, is my understanding.
Okay, maybe I had that wrong. Okay,
I believe that's what I understood.
okay.
Correct, right, Frank?
We'll check on that.
I believe
Make
the
sure.
city is administering that position and we're paying the city.
Okay. The last thing is, and Commissioner Rushman and Brummett brought it up, there's a recommendation regarding bringing yard waste and tree waste to the transfer station. And they are recommending, the way this reads, to because of significant yard waste disposal in the county, to adjust the fee schedule, including charging all customers $40 per ton for yard and tree waste if utilizing a dump trailer and or dump truck for disposal. Users would be allowed one load free upon their initial visit. So we would need the board's approval to adjust the county's fee schedule for that, if you agree to it.
Does anyone want to have a discussion on that?
I think we're following Mr. Fall's recommendation. They did the same thing in Granville County. And so we were just following that same policy.
Yeah, but that was concerned about people bringing a lot of tonnage and illegally dumping or going beyond where they should go. And therefore, we did set a recommendation for a price so that, they are free to bring anything beyond that ton, below that ton, but if they want to exceed that, they just can't, especially construction sites, just keep dumping there, and then it's costing the city money to go back over and over again to try to remediate that problem. So that recommendation was made by the committee that we charge that $40 per ton fee for those over that ton amount. That's what we're doing.
No, actually what we want to do is assess a fee, a per tonnage fee for customers that dump outside of traditional yard waste.
Okay.
And so the thought is that most individuals with dump trailers are in a commercial business, and that would not be included in the standard household fee. So that was the intent of going to that fee. And I'll make a motion that we adjust the county fee schedule to include that 40 for customers disposing of yard waste using the dump trailers, with the exceptions as listed before for educational purposes.
Second. The motion has been made by Commissioner Brummett, seconded by Commissioner Vance. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Carries, I'm sorry. Yeah. I was still reading up.
Well, ayes have it. So approved.
Madam Chairman, board members, last item under your committee reports is Public Safety Committee. We met on July 26th, and this committee met to discuss the proposals for the fire services study that was originally came before the board, I believe, back on June 10th. And basically, the committee looked at the 6 proposals, looked at staff's recommendation for the top 2 that rose to the top through our internal scoring process. And the committee accepted staff's recommendation to hire AP Triton due to their robust and thorough proposal and extensive North Carolina knowledge. The recommendation is to award the contract to AP Triton to conduct the Vance County Fire Services study. There is one caveat on the recommendation. It says, subject to project oversight from the Public Safety Committee and the Fire Commission. As your interim manager, I would not recommend having it ran through Public Safety or the Fire Commission, but have it be, in order to have a neutral third-party study, it really needs, the consultant needs to be able to do their work, bring back a recommendation and bring it back to the full board. One other thing about the AP Triton, after conversation with one board member was, would it be possible to get their fee down? They were proposing a fee of $49,379. And we were looking to see if there was any possibilities of trimming that fee. We did contact them after the committee meeting, just to have an informal discussion. They did look at their scope of work and were able to reduce 3 days on site to 2 and 2.5 days, and came down about $1,400 to a new fee amount of $48,192. So it's my recommendation you go with AP Triton. I believe their schedule was about 4 months approximately to do the study. I recommend at this lower price amount. And again, I would recommend that the communication from the consultant come back to the full board and not to a subcommittee of it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we award the contract to AP Triton to conduct the Vance County Fire Services study, subject to project oversight from the Public Safety Committee and the Fire Commission.
Any discussion?
I got, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure that we understand that the final decision made about implementing this study is made by this full board. I don't want any committees to turn around and making that decision. I want the full board membership. The full board is the one that went ahead with this. The full board is the one that wanted to get the study done, and the full board should make that decision.
And it's coming back to the full board.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I have a question. What does subject to project oversight from the Public Safety Committee and the Fire Division, what kind of oversight are we talking about? What does that mean? When it says public subject to, why doesn't it just say that we recommend that the contract be awarded to this Vance County Fire Services study be awarded to these folks? Why do we have this subject to a project oversight? What does that mean? What are they going to do?
There's been considerable misinformation in this process. And so the intent is that there's been consistent misinformation in this whole process. And so it's the intent of the Public Safety Committee and through that oversight to ensure that the process remains neutral.
I don't quite understand when you say mistakes made by them. When you say you're gonna oversight means you're gonna look at mistakes made by them or what they're gonna do. What?
I did not say that.
What did you say? Tell me what you said again.
I said there has been significant misinformation.
Okay, misinformation. What do you mean by misinformation?
You've said in every meeting I've said it. You've heard a lot of it.
Well, but a lot of the misinformation came from the subject safety committee.
No, it did not.
I would say it did. I mean, the safety committee is the one who's been pushing not to do some of the things that have been recommended by the volunteer fire departments. The safety committee has been pushing their own agenda. I don't see the safety committee as an honest broker in this particular setting. We want an honest broker in this particular setting.
Well, I'm part of
And
that.
so why don't we just say that we're selecting, if we want an honest broker, why don't we turn it over to the county manager?
I don't choose to amend my motion.
Say again?
I do not choose to amend my motion at this time.
Well, you don't have to amend it. All right, I'll tell you what, don't amend it. Madam Chairman, I move that,
Second motion until we ruled on the first one.
say again?
I said, I'm not gonna entertain the second one till there is one already on the floor.
But according to Robert's rules, I have a right to amend, to make another motion, and then you have to vote my motion for that motion.
We're not bound by Robert's rule on this board.
What are we bound by?
We have our board rules.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say to you, Madam Chair, in terms of this motion, that this wording here of oversight by the Public Safety Committee and the Fire Commission does not present us with an honest broker in terms of reviewing what the consultant is doing. We brought the consultant on board to give us a neutral, honest look at the fire departments and the fire situation in Vance County without any oversights by anyone, with the possible exception of the county manager. And then it's all going to come back to this board for a decision. So this appears to me to be a little tampering, the possibility, a little tampering in here when we say correct misinformation that they may be forgetting, they may be getting.
So you're
They're gonna do
proposing
their
the Public
job,
Safety
we don't have
Committee
to
is
worry about
dishonest?
misinformation. We don't have to worry about any misinformation. Let them do their job.
I think we have,
They don't need
in
any oversight.
terms of my understanding, that I like the full board to be involved, since there's been a lot of discussion about it. Nothing against the Public Safety Committee. I like the recommendation by the acting county manager that the oversight comes back in terms of that we look at it, that we deal with it in our work session. We have the possibility of doing a work session, that group looks at it along with the county manager's input. If that's not how we do it, then I'm against the study. Because I don't think, not against public safety, not against the fire commission. I just feel as though that we should deal with it in our work session, whereby we can hammer it out as a board. You know, it's a hotbed item and that it needs to be the full board involved with it.
The full board will be.
I don't think there needs to be an oversight. I don't think there needs to be an oversight committee. I think the board, we need to deal with it in our work session. That's, I deal with it.
I can do a
Against
work
the study.
session.
I'm against the study,
I-
if you don't go there.
Because when you
I
say
have a
misinformation,
recommendation.
when you say misinformation, Madam,
I have a recommendation. At this point, we have two issues that has been combined into one category. First of all, we must decide who to award the contract to conduct the fire service study. I think the consensus of the board is that we go ahead and have this study done because we need to put this to bed. So at this point in time, I believe that we should just go ahead and entertain whether or not we're going to hire this particular company. But that was one of the main issues that was addressed by the Public Safety Committee when they had their meeting. The only thing that was discussed was the proposals that had been submitted, and everybody had the opportunity to ask whatever questions they had about the various companies that had submitted a proposal. And based on that, now we have a recommendation for this particular company. Since the board has already approved that we get a fire study done, the Public Safety Committee has stated that they have evaluated AP Triton as a recommended company to perform the study. My suggestion would be that we address both issues separately. That we first address the study, and then after that, then we address whether or not there will be any project oversight by the Public Safety Committee or the Fire Commission. And that way, everybody has an opportunity, rather than sitting here hashing it all out, yay, nay, we already know part of it, we're gonna get a study done. We need a company to do the study. The Public Safety Committee has already gone through all of these documentations that has been submitted by the people who was kind enough to submit their proposals, and they have come down to AB Triton.
And this was a recommendation from our county manager. We went along with what our county manager presented.
And that's correct. I sat in on it and I saw the process, and everybody was in agreement in terms of the recommendation that we get this company, we get this study done. I'm not saying that we floored the entire motion that Mr. Brummett has made, but I believe that rather than sitting here hashing it all out over and over and over again, which we're not going to maybe get an agreement, we may not, but let's just take it 2 steps in two parts. Therefore, we do have that study. We do have a company. We do have a company that the public safety has agreed to. And then at that time, after we have agreed, if we agree on this particular company, Then we look at whether or not there will be oversight from the Public Safety Committee or the Fire Commission. That's just my suggestion. No one has to go along with that.
How do we, Madam Chair, how do we get there to do that?
I'll go along with.
Excuse me?
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm trying to figure out how we get there. You don't, do you want me? Can I amend it? Can I amend it? Can that motion be amended?
But right now, the motion, Mr. Drummond has the motion on the floor, so, you know, I'm entertaining the motion that has been properly seconded, but it's up to them, you know, how.
Madam Chair, I
We can
think,
amend the motion.
I think in the end, we're going to the same thing. I don't think there's any discussion on that. The issue is, like you said, the oversight of it. I don't think there's any question on going with AP Triton, which was staff's recommendation. The issue is totally on the oversight of it. And so I mean, that's really the issue, that's the stumbling block right now. And if we're gonna deal with it, we might as well deal with it in one step rather than splitting up into two. I mean, that's just my thoughts.
Okay, any further discussion?
So we are not gonna interfere with what the state is gonna do. We're not interfering with what this company is gonna do in the community. We're not gonna say, don't go here. We don't have that. We want them to do a fair, ethical study of our county fire department. That's all. So you're not gonna address my integrity or my ethics behavior, thinking that I want to tamper, because that's not what I'm here. I'm here to make sure that we get a fair.
Well, I like what our chairman just said. We can amend the motion to say that we move to award this fire study to this company. Was it
AP Triton,
yeah, the AT Titan,
AP Triton.
AB Titan. If we can amend the motion to read that we award the fire safety study to AB Titan. And leave all the rest of it off. We can talk about that separately. But first, let's move to get this firm. Then we can talk about the other second.
Well, at this time, it's not my motion, it's Mr. Drummond's motion, so the motion is on the floor to.
And I said,
What's wrong with discussion in terms of the county manager and the public safety committee being oversight? I think that's where there's some concern and everything.
The county manager is in every public safety committee meeting. They don't be part
Well,
of
I
it.
still say, yeah,
Madam Chair,
it's gonna already be for it.
Don't the
we
board get?
have an amendment to the motion, which says we accept this particular consulting firm as the award them the contract. That's an amendment to that's a motion that amends that motion. Then
Ask our attorney,
Yeah,
ask our county attorney.
We have a motion that's been
Don't they gotta
properly
go before the
second.
board?
We have a second motion that has been made and to my knowledge has not been properly seconded to amend the primary motion.
Let's second his motion then.
Are you gonna entertain a second motion now?
He's just made him. I second.
No, Can we take a 5-minute break?
So now we vote.
Yeah, we're gonna now take a 5-minute break.
Oh, we still alive. You think you have to go before the whole board?
I guess so.
I'm taking home. Give it here.
You know, I'll take
You know,
that.
you pick up stuff and go with it.
My being upset, because I don't have an agenda. I don't appreciate that. It's no reason to.
Forget what's from the, my thing is that in terms of committing of invite. I'm not. My business, then it's probably everything is the whole board. But no, we do it, we discuss it, and we have a Wednesday meeting. That's our work session, that's how we bring it up.
They don't bring up. We're not gonna bring It's not. We're not gonna sit down and do no discussion.
What's the purpose of having a committee?
I got news for you. Let's say that I got misinformation.
I ain't gonna open my mouth, so don't take it in. I said nothing.
I'm just telling you what your boy said.
Oh, I ain't got no boy, Archie. That's your boy.
What's wrong? You understand?
No, I don't understand never what's wrong. That's why I ain't said.
Don't say. Same thing. Yeah, you're saying that I can influence this study.
You said they was influencing. They was influencing.
And it's been.
They was influencing.
Sure. Who's looking to be right for the board?
Let us sit that in bed.
Was.
What opposition?
Because.
You and Tommy, y'all had the votes on no problem. On no problem. I don't see the problem. Purpose.
We don't need to sit talking outside.
Same thing, right?
But in this particular case.
Oversight. We'll make oversight by the whole board, that's fine.
That's all. That's just one thing.
Anything that any committee member be challenged. The committee makes its recommendation.
That's on every issue.
Every issue.
I know what vote is already.
I'm good. I'm gonna let it play out. I don't get it. I'm just gonna listen. I'm confused.
Yeah. Let's just go on, this is gonna be the smallest.
Let's discuss it in our work session.
I'm eating with you.
Mr. Mayor. We now call the Vance County Board of Commissioners, August 7th, 2023, board back in session. Prior to leaving, there was a motion on the floor that had been made by Commissioner Dan Brummett that we accept the recommendations from the Public Safety Committee. It had been seconded by Commissioner Carolyn Faines. Then at the discussion, an amended motion was made by Commissioner Archer Taylor, and it was seconded by Commissioner Archie Taylor. There has been considerable discussion. I think now is the time that we take a vote. I have consulted with the county attorney, on the issues. So at this time, we're just gonna go ahead and take a vote on the amended.
This is a vote on whether or not to amend the original motion.
Yeah,
Call for vote.
and it was, I believe that was your. It has,
Are you taking vote now, ma'am?
yeah.
So are you saying all of them?
All those in favor of amending, Mr. Brummett's original? Rec,
The
Yeah.
motion was, the amendment to the motion was that I move that we accept AP Triton as the firm to do the fire study commission.
okay, and that was properly seconded by Commissioner,
I seconded, or Leo seconded.
Leo seconded.
oh.
That's all that amendment
Yeah.
says.
So all those in favor of accepting Commissioner Archie Taylor's amendment, say aye. So that's 3. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
I said, aye.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
And we voting on AP trading during the study?
We voted, I made the motion as it's published here. He made an amendment, so he's trying to make an amendment to my motion to take out.
He just said the only thing we voting on is who's doing the study. That's it.
That's right.
That's it.
That's what our chair
That's
lady,
it.
that's what our chair lady suggested.
Nothing
and I
else.
agree with that.
Whoever's doing the study, that's what he said now.
Right.
He said whoever's doing the study, that's all we voting on. All that other stuff is not in this motion.
Right. That's exactly.
So we just voting on who's gonna do the study.
That's all.
That's it. And that's the AP Triton?
Right.
Unless I'm confused. If I'm confused, I apologize.
That's not consistent with the motion originally made.
What's the,
The motion that was originally made is what's written right here. That was the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee.
Our chair lady suggested that we vote on who is going to do the study. And I agree with that. And so I made a motion that we vote on who's going to do the study. And then we cover the other issue separately.
But we're voting on who's doing the study, right?
Oh, we're voting. All that, that's the motion. We're voting on who's going to do the study.
And that amendment is to just vote on the people to do the study.
If
period.
this succeeds, then a vote will be taken on whether or not to award the contract to this entity.
With the caveat?
No caveat right now. That's the motion to amend the original motion.
Okay.
That's fine.
so do you understand now?
I understood the first time.
So it was just a vote on the amendment, whether or not we're gonna approve the amendment.
Are we gonna
to
amend?
Mr.
We're going to
Brummett's
approve
motion.
AP Triton. That's
Okay. So all those in favor say aye again,
right.
all those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
I should say
So-
nay, ayes have it.
Ayes have it.
So we have voted to amend Mr. Brummett's
Motion.
motion, so therefore now is there a motion about whether or not we will contract for A.B. Triton?
Madam Chair, I believe the motion has been made and it was just amended. So now the current motion on the table is to award the contract to that entity. If there's not any more discussion, it'd be appropriate to move on to a vote.
So all those in favor of hiring A.B. Triton, the contract to conduct the Vance County Fire Services study, say aye. Those opposed? By unanimous vote, we have agreed to follow recommendations of our county manager and the board and the Public Safety Committee and hire A.B. Triton to perform the Fire County Services Study.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we have project oversight by the Public Safety Committee and Fire Commission with assistance of our county manager.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made that there be project oversight from the Public Safety Committee, the Fire Commission, and the county manager. It has been properly made by Commissioner Dan Brummett, seconded by Commissioner Vance. All those in favor?
Wait, hold. There's got to be some discussion.
Go ahead.
Gotta have some discussion. So what's the motion?
You just heard the motion.
Well, can I hear it again?
The motion was made by Commissioner Dan Brummitt that there be
Project
project
oversight.
oversight from the Public Safety Committee, the Fire Commission, and the county manager of a.
Oh, the county manager's been added to this now.
Yes,
That was his motion.
just to clarify, but the county manager has always been a part of our committee meetings, and so just to clarify with everybody that that's that.
I don't understand why the Public Safety Committee has to be oversight on this. By oversight, you mean misinformation? Is that what you just said the last
That's
time?
not what he said, and we're not gonna go there tonight.
No, wait a minute. To say misinformation says you have the right to tell the consultant that something they're getting is incorrect or not correct, that you can influence the study. That's what that says.
Madam Chair,
It
If you have the right to tell them this is misinformation, that means you can decide what they should be looking at and not looking at based on something that you tell them.
He's not saying he's gonna tell them, the company, that there's been misinformation. He's not saying that.
He just told me that's what oversight meant.
He said there has been misinformation concerning what's given to the public. We want to make sure that that whatever, we're not going to interfere with what they're going to do. And it has been misinformation. You know, people calling me saying you're getting rid of the golden belt. We're not getting rid of the golden belt.
Also heard, and we
So that's
also-
misinformation.
And we also heard from a commissioner that we have work sessions. And at these work sessions, we can look at oversight
We
on
can.
this consultant.
As a board.
And that's what I'm in favor of. I'm in favor of,
Question.
basically, the board is gonna make the decision, okay?
Madam Chair,
We've had this discussion, it's getting redundant. At this time, we're gonna take a vote on Mr. Brummitt's motion.
Madam Chair, the
County
county manager is trying to say.
Okay, go ahead, please.
if I could just make one comment. When Chris Dillon and I spoke to AP Triton in follow-up, once the committee had went with staff recommendation to bring them forward to the full board, we did have a discussion about some of the dynamics of the study and possible, the motion that had been approved by the oversight committee, by the public safety committee. And they expressed that they would be making an independent analysis of the Pitt County Fire Services countywide.
Pitt County.
I'm sorry, it's getting late. Vance County Fire Services countywide, and that they would not be, I had to use the word unduly influenced, but they would be making an independent analysis that would not be, the study would not be driven necessarily by any subgroup of the full boards, i.e. such as the Public Safety Committee or the Fire Commission, that they would, so I do bring that to the table. I don't know if those on the Public Safety Committee appreciate that input, but that's what they did tell me.
But the public safety is not here to give input to them. So.
Shut her up.
At this time, we're not hearing any comments from the public. Everybody had a chance to do it at the beginning of the meeting. If you didn't do it then, you can't do it now. This is for the board to go through our discussion.
Sure.
Security has to leave.
Yeah, we're not gonna have outbursts tonight.
All right.
Okay, the motion is on the table. We've had discussion. Does anyone else have a comment that they want to make at this time? Do you have any further comments, Mr. Taylor?
Sorry?
Do you have any further comments you want to make at this time?
Saying anything. I made my comments in the discussion.
Okay. So the motion is that there be project oversight from the Public Safety Committee, the Fire Commission, and the county manager, but the final decision as to, will be made by the entire board. Once we get the, study results back, the board makes the decision as to what will go forth, whichever way it goes based on whatever the study comes back with. But at this point in time, during the process of the study, the motion has been made, properly second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, 4-3, ayes have it. There will be project oversight by the Public Safety Committee, the Fire Commission, and the county manager. With understanding, as stated by, our county manager, that they had already been discussed with A.B. Triton, and they had no problem with it.
Thanks. Sheriff's office fee schedule. Let's keep moving.
Okay, next on the, agenda is the finance director's report.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just have one item on the agenda tonight for the sheriff's office, their fee schedule. The fee schedule that we had printed back in the budget process needs to be amended because the sign company that went out of business, the new vendor we are using is at a higher rate. So to cover our cost for posted property signs, posted property and posted signs, we need to increase the fee from $1.50 to $1.80.
Madam Chair, I move we change the posted property and posted sign fee from $1.50 to $1.80. Second.
Okay, the motion has been made that we increase the, fee from $1.50 to $1.80 for the sheriff's department. And to clarify, the original company did go out of business, so the sheriff's department was forced to go with a new company, and they wanted to charge 30 cents extra.
That's just their standard
Their
fee.
standard fee. Okay, so now, 180 is now, we are requesting that the fee be, approved at 180. All those are in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? By unanimous vote, ayes have it. So moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next, we have the county manager's report.
Madam Chairman, two items on my report, one dealing with fire department staffing needs. As you're well aware, the board is on June 14th, when you passed the annual operating budget for the county for fiscal year 23-24 for Vance County. You did put a stipulation in there, the freezing of positions in the Vance County Fire Department. At that time, there was 4 positions that you requested to be frozen until the fire study is completed and the results of it are brought forth. Chief Wright has indicated to me that he's having a staffing issue with a couple of resignations. He's in agreement to keeping the 4 positions frozen. At least I'm saying he's in agreement to it, that you froze as of June 14th, but he would like permission to hire in several positions that folks have left since that time. He has 4 resignations, 2 that actually occurred after July 1, 1 that occurred in April. However, he had a new hire that was supposed to begin July 1. He didn't disclose that to us because that person was supposed to come. That person chose not to come. So that was his 3rd one. He also had another one on May the 18th. So the request is to allow him to hire. A question was raised regarding his paid part-time staff. He has 7 paid part-timers who've worked in the past 3 weeks, 352 hours. He himself has filled in on several shifts due to shortages in the department. And we've got just basically staffing needs in that department that I'd recommend you allow him to fill the positions, but keep the 4 frozen that you had previously indicated in the motion at that time.
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Was that the information that you were going to bring to us?
Yes.
Did you print it out?
No, I just gave it to you verbally. I would be happy to.
That's not his full-time people are. What is the,
Chief Wright, can you
is it for?
add some light to this? If the board will allow.
I'd like to, on visual.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be paper.
This not, you didn't lose your this not your full-timers, are they? I'm just trying to get, they're the one that was actually full-time on staff? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I get it.
I've not lost any part-timers. I've lost, 3 full-timers in the last few weeks.
Okay.
Part of the issue is we're not, at times, we don't have enough staff to even provide backup to the nonprofits or the city, correct?
That's correct. State says we had to have a minimum of 19 people on our roster. We're sitting at 19.
Had these people committed prior to, the budget being passed? You said something about May, so has you already offered them a job before
I had
that?
offered one,
Okay.
2 different start dates, and he turned both of them, and he didn't start. So
So who is the one for May 18th? Is that one of the 3 you're asking for now?
yes,
So,
and I just had 2 recently leave last month, I believe, yeah.
Madam Chair, can I ask the fire chief a question?
go ahead.
With everything that we are involved with, is it putting a lot of stress on you or a lot as far as the fire department's concerned? And that may be part of the reason that you're losing personnel?
I'm gonna object to that question. That's going beyond the scope of what we're looking at. right now.
Why? Did what?
I mean, all that'll come out in the study.
What?
To
That's
answer
up.
your question, yes, sir.
Thank you.
You know, everybody,
Was there a motion on the floor? Where are we?
can
Made a motion.
I see that form?
You made a motion, right?
Yes, sir. I made the motion that we do the recommendation that we did about the firefighter position, the 3.
I second it.
This is there. If you look right here, this is July through August 13th. This is not. This is this that we're in.
They wouldn't ask for them. Last time they worked.
I know, so.
They're gonna
I'm
look
just
at it,
thinking
Mr.
this guy
Wright.
worked on July.
Hmm.
July 27th and August 7th. So this is just, that's how much he worked.
How many names on that list? 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be 7.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
I guess my question is, could these positions be filled with part-timers?
Nobody's applying for part-time at this time. Oh, is that for me? I'm sorry, is that a question for me? Okay. Nobody's applying for the part-time. The ones that are applying don't even live in the state. They don't even meet the minimum certification, so.
Madam Chair,
So
we have
we
a
now-
motion and a second on the floor.
Have a discussion.
And whenever you finish, I'd like to add to the discussion.
Are we getting ready to? Now, let me look at the paper back myself.
I'll just, what this shows just so the public can hear what we're saying. This shows the times that these individuals have worked during the month. And it appears that most of these individuals have worked. So this documents the 348 hours, these, or 352 hours that he's speaking of. And so if he's down staff still from then, he does need additional help.
And the motion has been made that, Chief Wright be allowed to hire for the positions that have become vacant. Pending the fire study, I think there was 3 positions.
After the freezing of the 4. The 4 positions. I think he's asked for anything beyond the 4.
Yeah, you froze 4. I'm just asking for 3.
You just asking.
Is that 3?
Motion wants to fill 3 vacated positions.
That's what I just said, didn't I?
That's right.
The motion was made to fill those 3 positions
That's correct.
for those vacancies, and everything else will remain the status quo. The motion has been made, it has been seconded. All those in favor of allowing Chief Wright to fill those three positions, say aye. Any nays? By unanimous vote, you have permission to fill those three positions.
Thank you.
County Attorney. Now, I have the floor.
One other item, Madam Chairman,
Excuse me.
one other item.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So item B is expanded grant, which is broadband funding through what the state is calling the CAB program, completing access to broadband. On this item, just to remind you that Vance County did receive a round one award from the state for great funding in an amount of $2.3 million. Vance County agreed to match up to $750,000 on that round money. Through a round two of great grant funding, the state of North Carolina is basically out of great dollars, but they are backfilling some great dollars with CAB dollars. Vance County, along with other counties, have been appropriated $8 million from the state to use for the CAB program, completing access to broadband. The state is going to allow Vance County, due to the way our previous application ranked with Zytel, which would be the provider, to do about, I think it was $3.7 million worth of work. It would connect 1,080 eligible households. Zytel says it will actually pass 4,000 eligible addresses, and that they could hook up approximately, affect 8,000 to 10,000 people. The state is saying that Vance County would have no match on this, no match requirement unless we volunteered to do it, but there's no need in it. Zytel would have to pick up about a little over $1 million, could be 1.2 million dollars. The state would fund the difference, was about 2.5 to 2.8 million dollars. I've had a conversation with Zytel. Zytel is interested in coming in to Vance County and doing this project as they previously had proposed. And right now, the state needs back is an indication that Vance County is interested in pursuing this funding. In speaking to the chair and the vice chair, we discussed maybe putting them on the agenda for September, for them to come in and make a formal presentation to you as to the who, what, why, where, and when of their proposal that had been previously submitted to the state on behalf of Vance County. But I need right now your permission just to pursue this with the state. Then we'll bring Zytel in to your September meeting.
Make the motion that we allow the county manager to indicate to the state that we'd like to pursue this opportunity with no match requirement from the county.
Second. Motion has been made that we approve our county manager going to the state and finding of our desire to pursue these funds. Been properly seconded by Commissioner Vance. All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any noes? By unanimous vote, it carries. I guess we need to decide on, we're gonna put that on, have them present at the September meeting.
Yes, ma'am, if that's agreeable.
All right. Now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we move into the REO bid process, I just wanted to provide the board with an update on where we are at with the David Heckler matter. That, if you remember, that was a code enforcement zoning violation matter that we filed in Superior Court against him. This past month, I was able to get a default judgment and injunction entered against him. The judge reserved the request for fines and attorney's fees for the September date. And so I'll be going back to court on that. But in essence, what that means is that we've got the injunction. He's got 30 days to comply with it. And then if he does not comply with it, he's requiring us to come back to court and get a motion for contempt and to hold him in contempt. So just want to give you that update on that legal action that we had started a couple of months ago. This evening, you've got two pieces of property up for your consideration. They're both the first or the start of this process to where we accept and send it out for an upset bid process, and we publish in the newspaper. The first one for your consideration this evening is on 309 South College Street.
Madam Chair, I'd move we pass the resolution authorizing the upset bid process for 309 South College Street.
Second.
A motion has been made that we start the process for 309 South College Street has been properly second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any discussion? So moved by unanimous vote.
The second piece of property up for your consideration this evening is located off of Tiny Broadwick Road. This is a piece of property that was landlocked and when Tiny Broadwick came through there. This is something that was foreclosed on, and this individual who has made the offer is aware of the access issues and concerns and has made the submitted offer.
You want a motion to approve the offer?
Yes, please.
I make a motion to approve the offer.
Anybody second?
Second.
Discussion, please. ma'am.
Discussion.
My concern with this property is that it's landlocked and it really serves no benefit other than create issues for adjoining property owners as far as someone trying to gain right-of-way access to it. And I don't see where it serves a public good to move forward with this property with a seller that is not connected to any adjoining properties.
I am not aware, because I've not done title work on this piece of property, as to what the proposed access options are. But I mean, this would not be the only piece of landlocked property that we have in the county. It doesn't do the county any good to hold on to this and keep it off the tax rolls. I'm not sure if this gentleman has friends or acquaintances with the neighbors that will allow him to get back into it. But I think this fulfills our goal of getting all the property that the county owns back on the tax rolls that we're able to.
Let me ask a question. Have the surrounding property owners been notified of the availability of the property? Because I
Yeah.
know usually, Mr. Cal Hicks sends out notices to those landowners to let them know that, you know, that property may come up for sale, bid or whatever. And they have that opportunity to, you know, contact the county and express an interest in it. So do you know that they've been notified?
They were initially notified during the tax foreclosure sale, and consistent with your policy that was put in place a couple of months ago, they will once again be notified when this goes for upset bid.
And we do not have to approve the bids after.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay.
Any motions on the floor? Okay, the motion has been made by Mr. Hester. Has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? By unanimous vote, the ayes have it, that it go out for upset bid. Mr. K, I think one of the concerns was, I think it was sometime last year, a property went out on Warren County Road, and the person who surrounded the property refused to bid on it. They didn't want to pay that much, and then once we accepted, you know, once they went out for us that bid, then they came in, wanted to come before the board and want us not to accept the bid that had come in. And I think that was Mr. Rummer's concern, that doesn't become a habit of everyone not wanting to do it at that time, when they had that opportunity, but then to come in later wanting us to take some kind of corrective action for something they could have done before.
When I was just in the process of looking of who the surrounding neighbors are, and I do not believe that this particular individual who has submitted the offer owns any of the property. But again, not having done title work and know what type of access, and I believe that the original property owners were originally compensated. And there's a lot of other legal principles behind access and lack thereof and how to deal with it and address it. But we've already got enough parcels that DOT owns and is held on to, and is holding on to that are, little leftover slivers. This was large enough that it didn't qualify for
Is
that.
that between 158 Business and Running Creek Road?
It is,
Yes.
it is north of 158.
And that individual does know we will not be providing easement. We will not be providing any right of ways, that anything that they need to do to get access to the property is gonna be totally on them.
That's correct.
And that was discussed with us. Okay, all right. Just so make everything clear. Okay, so move.
Voted already, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was by unanimous vote.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
The motion has been made that we approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chairman, we did have an addition on there. We had a 911 ETS fund amendment. There's actually an additional $30,932 for a total of $635,017. Again, that's within your 911 fund. And I believe there was a copy that
That
was,
was in the original agenda packet that I got anyway.
okay. Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Okay, because it's not on that I have. But if could you repeat that so that everyone be aware?
Right, within the 911 fund and the ETS, which is Emergency Telephone System Fund, there's an additional $330,932 added to the fund, and the total rollover to the new year would be $635,017.
Okay, everybody understand what happened? Huh?
We received additional monies into that fund, and now you're rolling all the money from the prior year plus that into the new year.
So we need to amend the budget to reflect that 30,000. Okay, motion has been made. I believe it was seconded. All those in favor? Any opposition? By unanimous vote, so approved. Kelly,
They have appointments for the month. The Economic Development Commission, Tom Church and Tommy Hester up for reappointment. One application was received from Tracy Mosley. The Library Board of Trustees, an application was received from Bob Hubbard to fill a vacant position. And the Research Triangle Regional Partnership, we need to appoint a commissioner and the EDC director, and I believe the manager had a few remarks on that.
I know on the regional group, we just wanted, as staff, want to recommend McKinley Perkinson as your EDC staff person be considered on that, and then whoever you select as a board member from this board.
Are we doing these separate?
Okay.
Okay, so, I gave great thought. When I looked at the Economic Development Commission, I have not talked to anyone. I called Kelly this morning. I said, because when I saw the new applicant, I have not spoken with Ms. Mosley. I just want to give my input. Have not spoken with her, but I know her well. And so that made me call Kelly and I asked her who was on, could she give me a list of who was on the Economic Development Commission? I don't know Tom Church, but I know our Commissioner Hester well, and I feel like he's done a great job, but she gave me a list of, she gave me the names of the people that was on the committee. And she didn't know the city, people that was on the city, but I found out who was on the city. And so my issue with that is I looked at the whole picture. And like I said, this is something that I examined for myself. And when I looked at the whole picture, I didn't see a lot of diversity on that. That's where I'm coming from. And so, like I said, I know Ms. Moulton, I know her involvement in the community. I know where she stands. I haven't spoken to no commissioners but one concerning this Economic Development Commission. And like I said, I believe that they have done a great job. But my motion tonight, I did speak with Commissioner Finster, and she said that she was interested in being appointed to this board. And like I said, but my main priority as I researched today, and this is why I feel so I want to make a motion that we appoint Commissioner Finster and Tracy Mosley to the Economic Development Commission board, because I feel like we need to make sure that our board represent us as a whole, as in diversity. And so that's my motion on the floor.
I would like to move that we appoint Tom Church and Tommy Hester back to this board.
We have, We have a motion that was made by, Commissioner Faines, for two nominations to the Economic Development Board. Would you prefer to take them one at a time, or you want to just take them both together?
Say what? It's my
Nomination.
my nomination at both at the same time.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I don't,
No,
I could be wrong, but I don't know if there was a second to either motion.
I
could be wrong.
second. You second,
Which one?
Ms. Fain's motion?
Ms. Faines?
And then Archie Taylor has made a motion.
So that would have to be an amendment to a motion, would it?
Mhm. Okay, any discussion? Now for vote, all those in favor of Ms. Fain's motion for nominations of Yolanda Feimster and Tracy Mosley for the Economic Development Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Ms.
You know, I vote no.
Yeah.
You know what you just done, don't you? You'll find out.
Finish the vote. What, so we're taking a roll call
Oh,
vote
yeah.
on that motion?
Mhm.
I vote no.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So let me explain to you, what have you just done? I want to know what you just did.
There was two individuals that was named to the Economic Development Board commissioned by this board.
I said, I don't even know, Tom, Chair. It's just was felt like as a commissioner, what we need to have diverse board. And I feel like they was just as capable, and those that's on the board, if you on or not, if you interested in our community, we're gonna always be a part. That's the way I was looking at it today. I did my own research. I have not spoken to not one board member, but Ms. Feaster to call her about it, and she inquired that she was interested. And so, and it was amazing, like I said, but I was gonna look at Tracy Mosley, because I feel like she could represent the county and the community as well.
Do we have a motion to go in close?
Ma-
Well, we
Madam
have a
Chair-
September meeting date.
Madam Chair, I move we appoint Mount Hubbard to the Library Board of Trustees for a 3-year term.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
All right.
Any noes? By unanimous vote, approved. Next on the agenda is closed session.
Got the regional partnership appointment.
Madam Chair,
For
on,
the commissioner. Which one we at?
Yeah, for the Research Triangle Regional Partnership.
Okay, we got the EC directors already on it, right? And, Mr. Brummett, I'll nominate, I don't know if you want to be on it or not. I'll nominate, Dan Brummett for it.
Second.
The motion
That's the
has been
research.
made to appoint Dan Brummett for Research Triangle Regional
You wanna
Partnership,
remember, I don't know.
properly seconded by Sean Austin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Ayes have it by unanimous.
McKinley,
vote.
yes, McKinley, yes.
Madam Chair, did you take care of the possibility of McKinley Perkinson as the,
Yes.
was that part of the motion? Or is that separate?
Part of the motion, yeah,
Okay.
EC, I didn't say her name, but I said EDC director.
Okay, great, thank you.
Next on the agenda is matters for closed session.
We have to do this September 20th.
Oh, yeah.
Change the meeting.
So Monday, September 4th is Labor Day. Do you want to meet on Tuesday, September 5th or Monday, September the 11th?
Monday, September 11th is my preference. What day do you all want to meet for the September?
September what?
The 5th or the 11th?
What?
September board meeting.
Oh, it's on a Monday? Either day. will be fine with me.
Well, Labor Day is Monday.
Oh, no.
The 5th is Tuesday, or we can do the following Monday, which is the 11th.
Okay, so I move we change the meeting to Monday, September 11th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor of, has the motion been made?
Second.
And it's been, motion has been made, properly seconded. Our next September meeting will be September the 11th. Because of the Labor Day Memorial, is
That's
Labor
holiday,
Day,
is that-
Labor Day holiday.
Well, it's such a, 9/11 is not necessarily an official holiday, but it is the 9/11 observance, but I think it's fine to meet on that date.
9/11?
Is it a holiday then?
I think so.
Seems like there was some holiday that they,
Might be the following.
But now on the
I
holiday?
don't think it's federally recognized holiday.
something on that date.
Oh, you mean it might be a federal holiday? Think so. I think it is a federal holiday. I'm not sure.
No, my calendar's not showing anything
Just not sure.
Okay.
compared to Labor Day on the 4th.
So do y'all prefer the 5th or the 11th? We need to make a decision.
That would
We need to
be
go in closed session.
That would be fine.
What did you, Leo, where were you?
So the-
I don't know. I prefer the Tuesday after the fourth, but I don't know.
I'm good either way. I just made the motion because I was hearing. some different information.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I don't have my wife's calendar. I'm not sure you're anything.
but you're coming from out of town, so
Yes, I should be able to be here, so.
on the 5th, you would prefer the 5th or 11th?
At this point, without my calendar in front of me, I think either one will work, I believe.
What does he prefer?
The 5th, is this, are you taking time? for-
Tuesday the 5th.
Okay,
What does he prefer?
5th or the 11th,
All right,
either
so
one.
I'll amend the motion. Let's do it on Tuesday, September 5th.
Fine.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Let's say
Second.
We ain't got no snow. I mean, I don't care.
Okay, so motion has been made that we have our September meeting on the Tuesday following our Labor Day holiday, on September the 5th, and it's been properly seconded by Commissioner Austin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I move we go into closed session, discuss economic development projects, property matter, and a personnel matter.
Economic.
The motion has been made that we go into closed session.
Aye.
Oh, and it's probably been second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're now in closed session.
What? Sorry? Oh, we'll have minutes back in the open session. Okay. Well, that's the only action we're anticipating after is the minutes in open session.